Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Territory Talk. I am Kris Rex, pro wrestler and one of your hosts. And alongside me is my co-host, my best friend, my platonic life partner, and my tag team partner in everything, John Punn. And this is Territory Talk, where we review Vice TV's Tales from the Territories. And this week, why don't you tell them what we have for them, Punn?
Yeah, so this week, Tears of the Territory gave us the Andy Kaufman story. And boy, what a story what it was. I was fascinated from beginning to end. Yes, there was stuff we knew, but there was a lot of stuff we didn't know, which we're going to definitely get into today.
Yeah, and the Andy Kaufman story is widely known. Like you said, a lot of this stuff was already public knowledge, but it was one of the most famous matches, and we find out really how famous this match really was in this episode. Uh, I mean, this thing got national news coverage. I mean, Letterman got like his start because of this match, which we'll find out later. I mean, it was pretty much what WWE would wind up doing before WWE did it, and that's a perfect way to introduce to how Andy Kaufman got into the business.
Oh yeah, he was a lifelong wrestling fan. Something he grew up watching, just like all of us. He became a famous Hollywood actor, and that was for him a good platform to use, I guess, to get to live out that childhood dream of at least wrestling once in a wrestling ring.
Yes.
So he used his acting to start his gimmick, so to say, right? He's a young actor. He wants to be a wrestler, but he uses comedy, and he created himself as the intergender wrestling champion. And I think that was smart.
Yeah.
He knew nobody in the business. There's no way for him. So what did we do? We imitated what we saw on TV.
Yeah.
He created his own persona of what he thought he could be if he made it to a wrestling ring.
So he started doing the intergender wrestling gimmick on his own. Pretty much filming it himself, wrestling women, and he brought this idea to Vince McMahon Sr., who was at the time running the WWF. And it's funny what Vince Sr.'s reply was because of what we see WWF become.
Yeah.
And his reply was, "No, I don't do that stuff. I don't want anybody to think we're actors. We're wrestling. We're not
Hmm.
entertainment."
He didn't want to mix wrestling with Hollywood.
With Hollywood, exactly. And to see where WWF would become WWF and WWE, where it is the accent is on the entertainment, and to see Vince McMahon Jr. did.
Remember, WrestleMania went Hollywood twice.
Yes. Not only that, the first WrestleMania included celebrities. Like, I mean, every top
Yeah.
celebrity during that time.
Yep.
So, I mean, you could say that. What if he allowed that? Imagine what Andy Kaufman, knowing what Andy Kaufman did for Memphis, what he could have done for the WWF.
Yeah. Imagine this storyline went to WWF instead of Memphis, Tennessee. WWF could have blown up way earlier than it did.
Yeah,
If his father
had
wasn't
that.
stuck in his wrestling ways.
Yeah,
This is wrestling.
yeah. So, where did he bring the idea upon?
So when Vince turned him down, that's when he got the idea of going to Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler. I forgot how he got that. That's the one thing I don't remember from the show. But he contacts Jerry Jarrett, and Jerry Jarrett thought he was being ribbed. He didn't really think he was speaking to Andy Kaufman, so he just gave him Jerry Lawler's phone number.
And Andy
And when,
Kaufman wasn't some Joe Schmo actor.
yeah,
He was a big Hollywood actor on Taxi, which was the
the number
biggest
one show.
show at the time. So he thought he was really getting ribbed. So whose number did he give him?
So he gave him Jerry Lawler's number, and he contacts Jerry Lawler, and Jerry Lawler right away knew that he was talking to Andy Kaufman. So when Andy Kaufman came up with the, coming down one time and doing his gimmick in the wrestling ring, Jerry Lawler said, "Yeah, let's do it." You
Of
know,
course, he's seen the money that could draw. This is a big time Hollywood actor from New York coming to, okay, let's do this. And he didn't just wrestle one girl. He would wrestle up to 5 girls in a night.
yeah. So he had him post promos though before bringing him in.
Yeah.
He had him cut promos,
He
cut
cut
promos.
promos. I mean, he did what the wrestlers would do to promote their matches.
Yeah.
And he was. This is where you start to see the genius of Andy Kaufman.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
He
And at
was
this
hip to
point,
what was going on. He knew it, but he respected it. It's not like he was hip to what's going on. It was like, oh, he loved it and was hip to what was going on. He was smartened up. He knew that it was a work, but he respected the business.
exactly, exactly. And he knew to keep the kayfabe, as weird as it is for a Hollywood actor, but he was a lifelong fan. And so him and Jerry Lawler planned that first, bringing him in, cutting promos beforehand, and the fans ate it up. As soon as he came, he was being booed, and he picked out, as you said, 5 random women from the crowd. All shoot, all shoot means it was not planned,
Yeah, shoot.
These were 5 random women that he picked out, and he wrestled them one by one. That happened to be the last one he wrestled that evening was a woman named Foxy. And as soon as that match had began, Foxy spine busters him on the charger. You know, so people, Jerry Jarrett, Jerry Lawler was seeing this. Yeah, eventually Andy Kaufman got the best of her because she got blown up. And they seen more money in this.
Yeah. So
You know,
they
they're watching this
they
woman
want
who,
another return.
yeah, they watched this woman nearly beat him and thought, they can do more with this. So again, Jerry Lawler, Jerry Jarrett, dollar signs going off in their eyeballs.
Yeah.
They decide to, find a way to contact Foxy and bring her back for an actual, payoff match
Yeah.
with Andy Kaufman. And, it's genius.
It was.
Genius.
It was definitely all profit for Memphis, and this was gonna lead to the infamous match. Okay.
They were making
Jerry
gold.
Lawler gave her some tips and everything, and this match was worked. This match was a work.
Yeah.
And Andy Kaufman is kind of getting his ass whooped. And again, Andy Kaufman comes up with the win. He starts laying on her after the match. And the fans are telling Jerry Lawler, "Hey, you trained this girl and she lost. Like, what are you gonna do?" He gets up on the apron and pushes Andy Kaufman lightly, but he pushes Andy Kaufman lightly. Andy Kaufman takes a nice little bump, and he goes off. And Jerry Lawler's like, "What the hell's going on?" And this is all like on the fly. And he's saying, "You can't touch me. I'm a Hollywood actor. You can't touch me. You're a wrestler. You're a man. You can't touch me." And Jerry Lawler pushes him again. Right? He pushes him twice.
Yeah.
So Jerry Lawler pushes him again, and he's just going all more. And Jerry Lawler is just eating up. And now you see the money. So here we go.
Yeah. So when Kaufman came to the back, he goes, "How did I do?" And everybody's like, "You did great. You did great." So, they keep in the kayfabe of it. They understand that Andy Kaufman now, at this point, they understand that the kayfabe is what he's doing and that he is keeping the kayfabe in front of the crowd. So, now they start to book the match. They start to plan Andy Kaufman versus Jerry Lawler, and they knew this was going to be a big money match. So the plans start going in, the promos start going in, and the build up to it was wonderful. Everybody wanted to see the Hollywood actor take on a male superstar,
Yes.
and no longer just beating up random women.
Yes,
And
and this was going to be a big money match, a big draw
yep,
for the Memphis territory, and it was. I think it was what 11K total, eleven
yeah,
thousand people back then.
yeah.
That's
It was a sellout at 10-5, and they let 11,000 in,
so they let
and
another
the stand
500 people in,
was the Raptors. That was incredible for
and they
that
were
era.
there to see Jerry Lawler versus Andy Kaufman,
And,
and the
and
match was not.
Jerry Lawler said he don't even remember what the rest of the card was, and he was on the card. That
Well,
was
that's the
awesome.
thing. That was the main money match, and it wasn't a wrestling spectacle. We knew nobody knew expected it to be. Andy Kaufman knew he was limited. He wasn't gonna. It wasn't gonna be like a Shawn Michaels Undertaker match, uh,
No.
but he played the role well. He
Yep.
played the weasel, and he's played the little coward well.
Yeah,
And
it
it,
reminded me of a little bit of the things you used to do. The in and out before the match started. Don't touch me.
yeah,
I loved it. I
the
love.
chicken shit heel, the chicken
Yep.
shit heel.
I love the cat and mouse game that he played before getting in the ring. And then when he finally got in the ring, Jerry Lawler said, all right, I'm going to let you get one up on me. And he bends over for a headlock. You know, you let him build the confidence, and that's exactly what
And
happened.
Jerry Lawler was
Yeah,
taunting him the
I
whole
got him.
time. He's taunting the crowd. Hold on, no, 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 don't worry, don't worry.
Yep.
I got
Jerry
this, I
Lawler
got
taunted
this.
to the crowd.
He's putting his hands on his hips while he's on there. So it's just like showing, like, all right, bro, you're not doing anything to me right now.
And then just like that, boom,
Lifting
back
him
to
up, back suplex, and he folded him.
like
Folded him.
folded him up, and then picked him up right away into the power driver, which in
Boom.
C was an illegal maneuver, and it caused the disqualification right away.
So
So it was
Andy Kaufman got the win.
a
Andy
very
Kaufman
strong
got the
match
win over
with
Jerry
Andy
Lawler.
Kaufman to win. So and then the crowd is cheering one more, and he gives him one more. Boom, and Andy Kaufman dead sells it. Dead
Yes.
sells it. Dead sells it. Jerry Lawler now he's celebrating to the crowd, and Andy Kaufman is just laying in the ring talking to the ref. And to find out, the ref now runs to Jerry Lawler while he's celebrating, telling him he needs an ambulance. Andy Kaufman says he needs an ambulance. Jerry Lawler goes, no, he doesn't. Tell him to roll out the ring and send it to the back. And now the ref has to run back to the ring. He tells him, no, you got to get out of the ring. He says, send it to the back. He goes, no, I need an ambulance. So he goes back to Jerry Lawler, still pandering to the crowd, and tells him that he wants an ambulance. And Jerry Lawler then tells the ref that it costs $300 for an ambulance, so he needs to get out the ring.
That's such an indie. That's such an indie thing. Like
And he said he was doing it clinched teeth, so the fans can't tell what he's
yeah, like it
saying.
was pantomiming it. Yeah,
Ref goes back to the ring, tells Kaufman, and Kaufman goes, I'll pay the $300.
I need an ambulance. Yeah. So he was. So at that point, everyone thought, oh shit, he's hurt.
Well, what was funny was he laid in the ring for 30 minutes.
Yes, till the
Until
ambulance came.
and,
And it's
and
funny because once he said he'll pay for the.
is the only one that knows that he's keeping kayfabe. All right, so after the ambulance takes him, he ends up staying in the hospital for 3 days. And it was funny because from my knowledge, he worked with doctors, he worked the X-ray technicians, and he was working everybody there. And he also paid his own hospital bill.
So Andy Kaufman, when he leaves the hospital, he's in a neck brace now, and he's really playing it off. He's wearing it on TV. He's wearing it everywhere he goes. I mean, he's really keeping kayfabe now. And again, genius. This is somebody who's not in the business that's going to these lengths to protect the business.
Yep,
I
yep.
mean, that's an amazing thing for Andy Kaufman, a Hollywood actor who most Hollywood actors don't appreciate pro wrestling, and he did. And this led to Andy Kaufman saying, don't worry, I'll get Jerry Lawler back sometime. Don't worry. Some time passes, and Jimmy Hart gets his face burnt. in a match of doing that gimmick, and he gets like the mummy wrap on his face, and that's his gimmick for a little bit. And at one show, someone tells Jimmy Hart, "Hey, Andy Kaufman's at your back door." He's like, "Let him in." He comes in. He's like, "Yeah, what's going on?" He goes, "What are you doing tonight?" He lets him know. He says, "What if I get wrapped and you come out like perfectly fine?" And we started thing together. Well, that's exactly what
Showed up,
happens.
yep, he showed up unbooked. So
Unannounced,
Jerry,
unbooked.
I don't think Jerry Lawler
I don't think
knew.
anybody knew. I don't think
Yeah,
anybody but Jimmy Hart knew.
yep, that
So this
happening.
this is just genius of Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, so they wrapped him up and they did the spot in the ring. So Jerry Lawler is trying to pull the mummy up, and then all of a sudden Jimmy Hart comes out, and that's when Jerry Lawler gives him a slug, and he realized that's when he lost his match. He lost his match because he realized that Jimmy Hart wasn't the one wrapped up, and they reveal it to be Andy Kaufman to
Yes.
the world that Andy Kaufman was the one, wrapped up pretending to be Jimmy Hart there, and it led to the story being that Andy Kaufman is hiring Jimmy Hart to find anybody that can break Jerry Lawler's neck and put him in the hospital like he did to him.
Yes. Yes. And this leads to another match featuring Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler, but this time a handicap match with Jimmy Hart as Andy Kaufman's partner. And I think the dynamic between that was so awesome. Two chicken shit heels, and they're cowards, and that's their whole gimmick. And they're going to get their ass beat by Jerry Lawler. And they're going to try to weasel their way out of everything. And it's so funny that they're such cowards that they can't even work together, because they were doing the spot where they charged Jerry Lawler. They were like, okay, on three, 1, 2, 3. Jimmy Hart goes to charge Jerry Lawler, and Andy Kaufman stays back. Jimmy Hart gets laid with a punch by Jerry Lawler. Crowd goes wild. Jimmy Hart gets up, goes to Andy Kaufman. He goes, "Did you hear me?" I said 1, 2, 3. Let's try this again. He goes, "Okay, Jimmy." 1, 2, 3. Again, Andy Kaufman stays back. Jimmy Hart gets laid out. Jimmy Hart gets up and said, "Okay, fool me once, fool me twice. Now I got you." Again, 1, 2, 3. Andy Kaufman charges. Jimmy Hart stays back. I mean, I love that dynamic. Um, so Andy Kaufman slowly started becoming part of the Memphis territory and being a part of the weekly television. He would fly in from New York to Memphis almost on a weekly basis, pretty much, and he would cut promos for them to air. And
Being that he was becoming part of the business, he helped bring the business mainstream by offering Jerry Lawler, hey, how about you come with me on David Letterman? And he jumped right on it. Jerry Lawler said, yes, yes, let's do it. So, they brought the storyline on David Letterman. That's where the slap was heard around the world. And, it brought wrestling into the mainstream.
and not only that, it brought David Letterman into the mainstream as well. That was during David Letterman's first year. So he really wasn't big. He really didn't have that popularity. But David Letterman had told Jerry Lawler at one point, "We call that the famous show." And they say, "Why?" And Jerry Lawler asked why, and he said, "Because that's the show that put us on the map. That's the show that made us famous and put all eyes on David Letterman." And that goes to show what wrestling, Andy Kaufman, and Jerry Lawler did, for pop culture.
That is true. That is true. You guys, I gotta say, I love it. It's one of the most famous storylines from that era. Probably
Yeah.
is the most famous storyline from that.
And Andy Kaufman would become a part of weekly television for the Memphis territory, but it wouldn't be for a long time, because unfortunately, at the age of 36, Andy Kaufman died from lung cancer. And I think Jerry Lawler was the only person he revealed it to, right?
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
business and everything, because
Because
he would start coughing and he would have
he was
symptoms,
on
and
Jerry Lawler's talk show that
yeah,
Jerry was doing.
he would start showing symptoms of having lung cancer. And Jerry Lawler asked if he was all right one day, and he said, "Jerry," he goes, "I have lung cancer," and it's just sad that to at the age of 36, he died of lung cancer, and to think what else he could have done in the business.
Yeah, you're right. Just imagine if he didn't die at 36. Once WWF saw what was happening there, I'm sure that's when the ball started rolling. Hey, how about we get Cindy Lauper? How about we do this? How about we do that? It had to be once Andy Kaufman did what he did for Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Before any ideas of using any type of celebrities was a thought of.
And it showed that if you mix the two, which was taboo at the time, you didn't do it. It was like this unwritten rule, because we'd be portrayed as actors and our business would be considered fake. But it drew numbers.
Yeah. And
So it clearly was a proven formula, and a lot of it has to do with Andy Kaufman's genius and keeping kayfabe, even working the boys.
yeah,
He worked Cowboy Bill
yeah,
Watts. He worked Cowboy Bill Watts. So that goes to show you the genius of Andy Kaufman. And a lot of this stuff didn't come to light until Jerry Lawler wrote it in his book.
yeah. A lot of it was, everybody hated Jerry Lawler. A lot of people really thought Kaufman broke his neck on that power driver because
Yeah.
Kaufman kept it that way.
Yes.
And being that Jerry Lawler was one of the select few to know about it, it wasn't until he wrote his book, and he told it all.
Yeah. And this episode, like we said, it seemed like a part 2 to Memphis. And it shows how big Memphis really was. Even though it was a small promotion, it really was pretty big. They did a lot of innovative things, a lot of things before their time that I think wasn't appreciated at the time, or was taboo at the time and considered as maybe what they would say today is killing the business.
Hey,
You're killing the business by bringing Andy Kaufman, and I'm sure there were people that were like that. But it really showed that it's all about putting asses in seats, and as long as you're putting asses in seats, that's all that matters. You're going to draw money. You need to draw money. And again, this was Andy Kaufman keeping kayfabe. This was Andy Kaufman working everybody, and even to Jerry Lawler, his opponent, he loved wrestling so much that when he was paid after he had passed away, his parents found the checks that were never cashed from Memphis.
mm-hmm.
He never took a dime from Memphis. He paid all his bills. He paid the ambulance bill. He paid for his own things, and he never took a dime from Memphis. And that goes to show how big of a fan he really was.
Yeah, and that's also what his parents realized, that it was
a work.
That's when they spoke to Jerry Lawler at the movie when they were making the movie with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And they told him about the checks that they found. Yep.
That really blew me away, because it's like, wow.
Yeah.
This guy probably had how much fucking money sitting on those checks, and he did it out of love, and he did it out of respect, and did it because it was something he wanted to do. And you know what? He got to do it before he passed away.
Yep.
And he did it up until he passed away, actually. And shit, he should be in the Hall of Fame, like they were talking about. Even Triple H had said that he deserves to be, recognized for what he's done for the business. That's going a long way to say that he's done all this for the business, and you're this little Hollywood actor. So sometimes we get cynical as wrestling fans, as wrestlers, about actors and musicians getting involved. But as long as they have a love and a respect and appreciation for the business, then there's completely nothing wrong. And if they put asses in seats,
hey,
there's nothing wrong with it, because you know what, they're helping you get a check as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good reminder, and that's a good way to end this episode of Territory Talk.
Hopefully one day we'll see Andy Kaufman in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, hopefully one day. On behalf of John Punn and myself, thank each and every one of you for tuning in to another episode of Territory Talk. If you'd like to stay updated on all of the Four Quarters Network shows, you can follow us on all social media platforms above Punn's head. Yes, I love when you do that. at Four Corners Net. That's the number Four Corners Net. Uh, we have audio and video versions of all our platforms. 3 days a week, you can catch us. Three different types of content. You can find us on Captivate. You can find us on Spotify. I believe you can find us on Apple Music. I believe so. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We have posted everywhere. Again, thank each and every one of you for tuning in. As always, be excellent to each other and keep supporting pro wrestling.